On today's project, let's change out the cap, rotor, and pickup magnet on the small block Chevy. Okay, so we've got one 2010 Chevy small block 350 with a late style GM HEI ignition. Last time I had the boat out, I was having some trouble with ignition, and I went ahead and pulled the cap and rotor. Not great. I'll show you that here in a second. But I have a new pickup magnet and ignition module, which I probably won't be using the ignition module because I have a factory GM one in there and a new standard cap and rotor from genuine MerCruiser, Quicksilver. I have the MSD in there, and I'll show you very shortly how bad that looked. From research, it seems like that's just the way of the road or the way of the ocean, and components just don't really seem to last anymore. No one makes things out of really good quality material, so that means more parts more often, but at least it's fairly cheap and it's not too hard to do. So let's get to it. First thing I'm going to do here is to get this coil out of the way, get this cap off. And even though all the spark plug wires are labeled, thanks to the MSD stuff that came with it, I still like to take one off at a time and put it on the new cap just to help eliminate any chance of goofing this up. Okay, so we're back at my workbench, and I have the MSD part number 84665 right here. You've got the little pickup for the reluctor wheel, little magnet, and their ignition module. I was really hoping these weren't soldered together or whatever is going on here. The best I can tell, this isn't coming apart, which is not what I want, because what I want is to use the factory GM ignition module, because everyone says these are junk from wherever they're coming from. The difference is this guy, magnet, pickup, what I just took out of the boat, was rusted to pieces. Well, I can't say pieces, well, it was pretty rusted, but I've cleaned it up with some emery cloth and some brake clean. But this has the plug, so you can just do that, and you can swap this out if you have to, you can swap this out if you have to, but I cannot find just this with this plug. I've found every other combination of this with round pins that would go into a female socket on this side, but I have not found this exact setup at all. I'm gonna have to go back into my history to see if I ordered this 2 or 3 years ago and they've changed it to this crap right here. So what I'm gonna do, send this back, get $100 back, clean this up, clean these electrical connectors up, make sure you put some thermal compound on the back here, clean up the distributor and the reluctor wheel and put this back, and then I'm going to go back to changing the cap and rotor. So that's where I'm at. It'd be nice if things just stayed the same or consistent, but we're going to solve this problem. We're going to clean this up, and this should be okay even though it's got some surface rust on it. I don't think that was the issue. I'm going to go over and show you how bad that cap and rotor was, and I can almost 99% sure say that the cap and rotor was the problem, so let's go check that out. So I've got the approximately 2-year-old MSD cap and rotor here in red. That is not in the greatest shape, nor is that. This is looking pretty rough. I mean, that's like some serious corrosion going on there. This center no longer really springs out when you compare to this. And of course, clean connections, clean new. So we're going to try this out for MerCruiser Quicksilver parts and see what happens there. On the distributor on the engine, the reluctor wheel, you know, it's got surface rust on it, and people tell me that that's quote-unquote okay, but I'm going to try to clean this up with some emery cloth, get all this cleaned up and nice and fresh, and put some things back together and try to start it. All right, so that's somewhat cleaned up better. All that seems normal. I'm gonna start putting things back together and give it a try. Worst case, we'll just buy an entire new distributor because that seems easier at this point. But let's put it back together and fire it up. Okay, so I've got the GM ignition module back on. I did put thermal paste between the aluminum housing and the module. I reinstalled the pickup magnet, and I took a feeler gauge and made sure that was within tolerance of the specified 18 thousandths to 30 thousandths. I made it tight at 24 thousandths and good to go there. So that's all secured. I know it doesn't look great, but I cleaned this up for better contact to the rotor. I'm gonna try this and run the boat again and see what happens. I mean, from how terrible this thing looked, I mean, that's gotta be the majority of the problem. I don't think it matters too much if there's some rust on that. It's still gonna trigger. So fingers crossed there. Let's get the cap and rotor on and put it back together. Okay, so far so good. The engine immediately cold started, so that's definitely a good sign. I actually was having a little bit of delayed start with this engine. The port engine's been okay. That started right up as well. Cold start. It hasn't run in a little over, well, it has run in 5 days, so it's not been that long, but this was a cold start. Engine did start right up. So I'm gonna let these warm up and just let them run for a bit. And I think I'm gonna change the fuel filters here in a minute too, just get something else done while I'm at it. All right, well, hope you all enjoyed that video of me replacing the cap and rotor on the boat. I still haven't had a chance to take the boat out to see if that fixed anything, but based on the condition of how bad those contact points were on the cap and the center pin on the cap wasn't really making great contact with the rotor, that's just, you know, not good. So hopefully next time the weather isn't bad. It's windy and it's going to rain all Memorial Day weekend, but I got to get the boat out there and test on it. But, you know, I think we should be in good shape. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video.